We should certainly take Kim Jong-un seriously, but really, is he going to blow up a hydrogen bomb over the Pacific Ocean?
Well, I don't think there's any reason not to take that sort of threat seriously, and it demonstrates really the danger with this kind of regime is not simply an intentional move toward war, but the prospect for miscalculation. A detonation somewhere over the Pacific would spread radiation worldwide. It could have effects on nearby territories. And it gets to the question beyond the point of self-defense. As Ambassador Haley said, if we're attacked, of course we're going to defend ourselves. That's right. Really not the issue. The issue is, what if it's something less than an outright attack, like a nuclear detonation, like a missile potentially poised to land near Guam? Are we going to sit here and wait and hope that it doesn't land on U.S. soil, or are we going to take preemptive action? And we're getting very close to that point.
I think it was Secretary Mattis, but it was certainly somebody from the administration in the past week who said it appears as though the North has in their own mind a red line that they're not willing to step over, that somehow they make this calculation that they feel like after this the U.S. is going to do something. It speaks, though, to the challenge that you brought up and the danger you brought up of miscalculation.
Look, they have fired 2 missiles over the territory of Japan in the past month. We did not engage either one of those, and neither did the Japanese with anti-ballistic missile systems.
So is that embolden the North Koreans?
The argument is, well, they weren't going to hit Japan. Really? You're so confident of that? You know, missiles can fail. Missiles can be maneuverable. We're in a very dangerous point here. I don't think we have adequate defensive capabilities. So that, again, gets to the question of preemption if there's no action by China here really to bring North Korea under control.
Possible preemptive strike is always something that is out there, and we've sort of heard hints about the language of that, and certainly the rhetoric has changed from President Obama now to President Trump. The rhetoric from the North Koreans has changed a little bit, but not much. This is what Peggy Noonan wrote about the rhetoric and contrasting it with the Cold War. Is this too hot or helpful, or both? It's hard to know if blunt talk will excite nuts into greater activity, or if bracing clarity about the risks they're taking will slow them down, make them question their ambitions and intentions. You've dealt with the North Koreans at the United Nations. You've seen them. Does speaking their language and putting it, even if it has to be in a tweet, make them take pause?
I think it's not just for the North Koreans, it's for China as well, and for everybody else. And that's why I thought the president's speech this week was so important, because it was manifestly not Barack Obama up there. Look, I just believe as a general proposition for Americans, plain speaking is still a virtue, and I think the president spoke plainly this week. We're not the cause of North Korea's irrational behavior. North Korea is the cause of its behavior.
Very quickly, the Cuban Missile Crisis was brought to a close, if you will, by a sort of an unconventional solution that President Kennedy worked out in the back channel. Is there any options for unconventional solutions to the North Korean crisis?
I think the only diplomatic play left is to convince China that ultimately it's in their interest to reunite the 2 Koreas, that the notion that somehow North Korea is a buffer between them and the United States may have made sense in about 1955, but it doesn't make sense any longer. But the real question is whether President Trump will stick with what he said in his speech, where he made the point the only acceptable outcome is denuclearization of North Korea. That's a rejection of the Susan Rice and Democratic Party view that we can live with nuclear weapons in North Korea. So denuclearization, if he means what he says, says either you find this last peaceful alternative or we will take military action.